Back at the IATA AGM this year in Boston, now speaking with Arjan Meyer from Embraer. Arjan, thank you for giving me some time this morning.
You're welcome, Edison.
The theme here is sustainability, and we're asking everybody the same question. The need to create sustainable commercial aviation, okay, that's a good goal. Doing it by the mid-30s, now we're talking about zero emissions by the 50s. It seems that there is a lot of push for the sustainability without a really good, clear plan how to deliver that. And as I've said to other people I've been speaking with here, there seems to me a little bit of virtue signaling going on by leadership in the industry. Embraer is a little different. The success that you've had already in your company with the EVE program is manifest. So your whole response to this challenge might be a little different, but I think what we would like to hear from you is what is the Embraer position on the sustainability and how do you see this playing out over the next decades?
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for the question and thanks for reaching out, because I think Embraer does have a slightly different approach. For several reasons. First of all, Embraer is in the sub 150 seat segment, so we believe that's a segment where things can really change first, because we're talking about smaller aircraft and less range. The other thing is Embraer traditionally has always already tried to put the best aircraft with the best fuel burn in the market. I think we've shown that over the last years with the immense development speed that we showed, and also evidenced by how quickly we brought the E2 to the market as part of the E-Jet family, with vastly improved fuel burn. The other thing is Embraer has a culture of wanting to under-promise, over-deliver. So we don't want to set big, hairy goals and then adjust the goals to the back. We really want to take a realistic view of what we can do. So first of all, if you want to attack the CO2 reduction challenge, the best thing is to not produce CO2 at all on the existing technology. And I think that's the step we've done with the E2. We've taken like for like, we say more than 17% out, but we're hearing from customers live data that we're reaching over 20% from an E1 to an E2. So that's just fuel that you never have to offset with anything else, no SAFs, no hydrogen, that's just gone forever. So that's something that we want to keep doing. That's also the reason why we want to bring the turboprop. We believe we can bring a product which is better from a customer perspective, better from a noise perspective, better from an environmental perspective, because we will be able to put an aircraft with turboprops on jet routes at 25% reduction in fuel burn, and in a way that customers actually like the airplane. So we believe that's another actual project that we're working on. It's not there yet, it's not launched, we'll launch it next year, but that's another tangible effect. Now if we go back to our segment, the TP and the E2, to fly those with new technology into the future, we believe that's quite a few steps away. So the first logical step is to think about SAFs. So we will deliver the turboprop with 100% SAF out of the box. That's the plan today. We're working very hard in the next few years to get also the E2 100% SAF approved. Now that's the step that the OEMs can take. What we cannot do is make the SAFs available for the whole world. So what Embraer is doing, we're working with the Brazilian ecosystem very actively to, at least from a South American perspective, to help create more SAFs for the industry. And we're also offering that help for other partners in the world to see how we can help that problem. But that's a huge challenge that we have collectively, because producing SAF for all of aviation, we've only seen the very small beginnings yet. So that's a long trip, and what I'm hearing from airlines, they expect to have roughly 10% by 2030. So that's the first step. But if you then compare by taking 25% out of new technology that we're doing already today, that's even more helpful. Then if we move to the lower segment below the TP, we will announce our roadmap for the environment early November. We announced our ESG targets in August this year on a corporate level, so that's across all the business units. We set targets on the scope 1 and 2 on our operations, having neutral growth, 100% renewable energy in 2030. So we set clear targets there. And on the scope 3, we have committed also to the zero net emission targets from our products in 2050. On the lower segment up to 50 seats, we believe that's where real change is possible in the next 15, 20 years. We're talking about electrification, we're talking about hybridification, and those are technologies that could work on our scale, but on the bigger aircraft out there, that's going to be a lot harder. Now, electrification is really small, so the first step that we're actually doing today is the eVTOL. eVTOL, 4 persons, 100 kilometer range, 100% electric. We did our first test on an electric Ipanema only a few months ago. So we tested the integration of electrification on our smallest aircraft that we use in the agricultural business. And those are the baby steps we're taking to take that technology further. Electrification, we will early November show what we think we can do with that technology, but that's going to be small aircraft, small range. We may be able to do something with electrification. Then beyond that, we're going to have to look at hybrid. Hybrid we're testing on the Stout, on the defense side, where we have a plan to power an aircraft with a traditional engine and electric power. So we're also having actual product at the moment to test that. So Embraer is really taking concrete steps to test all those technologies. We will also take steps on hydrogen, and then first roll that out in the sub 50 seat segment, and then beyond we'll look how we can power the turboprop and the E2 new technology.
That's a great plan. Just as you were explaining that, it occurred to me that if I were an operator and I were to move to the E2, let's just for giggles, I'm Qantas and I'm looking at airplanes, and I were to look at an E2, and if I look at what I'm burning now, potentially I can be seeing the SAF use by 2030, let's say 10%, plus 20% lower fuel burn on an E2. Mm-hmm. So I'm at 30% by 2030. That's amazing.
That's amazing, yeah.
And that's, I mean, what you're saying is completely plausible and real.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we have customers now moving on the E2, and they see those benefits live. We have airlines flying a 190 E1 going to a 195 E2, adding more than 30 seats, up to 34 seats to the airplane, without one additional drop of fuel being burned on a trip base. So there are already huge steps possible. I think on top of that we can take the first steps with SAF. But to get to 100% SAF on the airplane and actually use 100% SAF,
right. Well,
that will take some time.
That's a
some
supply,
water under the bridge to get there.
That's a supply problem. Yeah. Thank you so much for your conversation.